Madison says it with a half smile, motioning to the cheap white plastic chair tucked awkwardly at the back corner of the banquet hall. Her eyes flicker to my face, then slide away, dismissive casual like she's done nothing wrong. It's my high school reunion. 10 years since I left this town. Same gymnasium, just with fairy lights this time. Same tables, only now they're draped in thin gold linen that does nothing to hide the folding metal underneath. Same people, somehow smaller, but just as sharp. I nod and murmur, "Thanks." Then I walk across the room, heels echoing against the polished basketball court floor past tables full of ex-cheerleaders, former football players, and too many people I recognize but who don't recognize me. Some glance at me like I've wandered into the wrong room. One whispers, "Who's that?" I sit down. The chair wobbles beneath me. It's the only one that doesn't match. I watch them toast each other, laugh, slide back into the old cliques like they never left. There's Megan Holloway, still impossibly tan, clutching her wine glass like it's an accessory. She hasn't said a word to me. Josh Danner, my old lab partner in AP Physics, laughs a little too loudly at something not remotely funny. Even Mr. Langford, our former English teacher, looks through me like I'm part of the decor. And Madison's still the queen bee, still wearing red lipstick like it's armor, still calling the shots like this gym belongs to her. She hasn't changed. Except now she organizes alumni events and dates a dentist from Raleigh. My name tag says Alina Brooks, class of 2010. But to them, I'm still just nobody. I fold my hands in my lap, watching the second-rate string quartet struggle to tune their instruments. The punch is warm, the lights are too bright, the laughter gets louder. I take a slow breath. They think I came back to reminisce. They think I'm still that quiet odd girl who brought tuna sandwiches to school and sat alone during lunch. They think giving me a plastic chair is just a tiny oversight, not an insult, but I didn't come back for memories. I came back to be seen. And they're about to. At precisely 7:48 p.m., the doors at the front of the gym open. A hush ripples through the crowd. Two men in dark suits enter, tall, serious, composed. They scan the room with well-trained precision. One has a communication wire curled behind his ear. The other walks with his jacket buttoned high, revealing the edge of a government badge. Heads turn, forks clink against plates. A few people stand instinctively. The man with the earpiece walks straight across the room past Josh, past Madison, past the tiny clusters of confused former classmates, and stops in front of me. He lowers his voice just enough for the microphone to catch it. "Ma'am, the vice president is ready for you now." The entire room goes silent. I rise. Madison's face drains of color. Josh Danner's mouth falls open. Someone whispers, "What the hell is going on?" I don't answer. I just smooth my blazer, thank the agent, and walk forward as the crowd parts in stunned silence. The click of my heels is the only sound. My plastic chair stays empty behind me, but I won't need it anymore, because tonight I'm not sitting in the corner. Tonight, I'm walking to the front. When I was 17, I used to sit in the last row of Mrs. Graham's calculus class with a broken mechanical pencil and a spiral notebook filled with code I wrote during lunch. While the others passed notes or whispered about homecoming, I was reverse engineering a traffic light system I found in an online database. No one noticed. I was Elena Brooks, the weird girl from the edge of town. The scholarship kid with a single mom who worked nights at the hospital. My backpack was always secondhand, and my clothes never quite fit right. My voice was soft. My body was awkward. And that was enough for them to decide I didn't belong. It didn't matter that I had perfect grades, that I won the statewide STEM fair 3 years in a row, that I taught myself Python at 15 and hacked the school's Wi-Fi firewall by junior year. What they remembered was that I couldn't afford prom. What they whispered was that I'd probably end up answering phones in some basement office. What Madison once said loud enough for everyone to hear was, "She's basically invisible. It's like talking to a chair." That one stuck with me. My mom used to say, "You don't have to be loud to be strong." She was a nurse for 34 years, quiet as a cloud, but sharp as a needle. She raised me alone after my dad walked out when I was 4. We didn't have much, but we had each other and a Dell laptop that ran just fast enough to keep my dream alive. The day I got accepted into MIT on a full scholarship, my mom cried so hard I thought something was wrong. It was the first time anyone in our family had gone to college, let alone a place like that. I left our small town in North Carolina with nothing but a duffel bag and a battered Toshiba flash drive full of side projects, and I swore I wouldn't look back. But even after I graduated, even after I was recruited by a little-known federal initiative in digital defense, even after I earned the trust of people whose names you'll never read in the news, part of me still remembered that classroom, that spiral notebook, that broken pencil, that plastic chair. My career didn't move in straight lines. It twisted, looped, doubled back. I started in data forensics, mapping intrusion trails left by cyber criminals. I worked behind glass walls, scanning through packet logs while my superiors presented my research like it was their own. I didn't complain. I just kept learning. Eventually, someone noticed. A program manager from the Office of Critical Infrastructure caught my name on a flagged report. Next thing I knew, I was invited to join a think tank developing security protocols for national power grids. My code stopped attacks before they even reached firewalls. But my name never made the briefings, which was fine. That was the job. Confidential, invisible. Until one day, a high-profile government official, a former veteran, now vice president, stopped by the lab for a private demo. He watched quietly as I explained the simulation. I'd built a system that predicted cyber-terrorist behavior 3 steps before activation. When the others left the room, he turned to me and said, "This work will never be public, but it's saving lives." You understand that? I nodded. That was the beginning of something different. Quiet access, confidential meetings, sudden travel. I wasn't just building defense anymore. I was part of it. So when the reunion invitation landed in my inbox, a generic email from Madison's new Events by M company, I almost deleted it. 10 years. 10. It came with a cheap flyer that said, "Relive the magic," and an RSVP link with a dress code but no guest list. For some reason, I hesitated. I'd spent a decade making sure no one could trace my name to my work. I'd erased my social media, kept my LinkedIn vague. My high school classmates likely thought I was still answering phones in a basement somewhere, which was exactly why I opened my calendar, exactly why I booked a flight. Not for revenge, not even for closure, just to see if I could walk into that gym, that old echo chamber of judgment, and sit with myself. To sit in the same place they once made me feel like nothing, and to remember how far I'd come. The day I arrived in town, I drove past my old street. The trees looked shorter, the sidewalks thinner. Our old duplex had been repainted in a pale yellow, but I could still see the rust outline on the chain-link fence where I'd locked my bike every morning. That night, I checked into a modest hotel just outside city limits. I wore a simple black blazer, pulled my hair back, and left the name tag from the welcome table blank. I didn't want to announce anything. If they knew me, they'd know me. They didn't. Not until the agents walked in. I think the reason it hurt, the reason the plastic chair cut deeper than it should have, was because I wasn't there to prove anything. I wasn't there to flaunt my job or throw status in anyone's face. I was just there, as me. But that was never enough for them. It never had been. I show up again the next morning for the alumni brunch, hoping maybe things will feel different in daylight. They don't. The same tight circles of laughter. The same subtle glances when I walk past. The same silence when I try to join a conversation. I try to be gracious. I really do. But every interaction feels like a reminder you don't belong here. Not really. You never did. "Hey, weren't you in Band 1? Woman asks with a smile that doesn't quite reach her eyes. "No," I reply gently. "Computer science." She blinks like I've said a foreign word. "Oh, right. I thought you looked familiar." They always say that I thought you looked familiar, like I'm someone they barely remember from a blurry photo. Like I don't have a name, a story, a spine. At the coffee table, Josh Danner stands beside 2 guys I vaguely recognize from the football team. I walk up, trying to bridge the gap. "Hey, Josh," I offer. "It's been a while." He squints. "Sorry, wait, are you—" "Emily Elena," I correct, smile tight. "Oh, right," he says, chuckling. "The one who always carried like a calculator in her hoodie. You used to eat lunch under the stairs, didn't you?" The guys laugh. My throat tightens, but I just nod. Guess some things stick. Still living around here, he asks, clearly expecting a boring answer. No, I live in D.C. now. Oh yeah, what are you doing these days? Tech support or something? I pause. The old Elena would shrink. She'd lie. She'd say something vague. But I just smile, something like that. Later that afternoon, I pass by a cluster of former cheerleaders, all older now, but somehow still performing for each other. That's her, one of them whispers too loudly. She just showed up. Didn't even RSVP. Poor thing, probably works retail. She's not married, is she? Another chimes in. I didn't see a ring. I keep walking, head high, chest steady, but inside, something twists. And the worst part is, I knew this would happen. I knew coming back would feel like trying to plant something in dead soil, but I did it anyway. I thought maybe, just maybe, people would change. They haven't. The final straw comes during the Legacy Memories slideshow, a cheap PowerPoint filled with old photos set to sentimental music that can't hide the lack of effort. They skipped my senior picture. Every face from our class is there. Every club, every sports team, every most likely to succeed. But not me. Not one single image. Not even a mention. It's like I never existed. Even Mr. Langford, who once praised my senior paper as college level, calls me Ellen when I approach him afterward. And when I correct him, he just laughs and says, "Sorry, kiddo. You kind of faded from memory." I stare at him for a long second. And in that moment, I realize something they don't forget because you were unremarkable. They forget because they never cared to remember you in the first place. That night, I sit alone in my rental car in the parking lot just outside the gym where the main banquet will be held. The lights glow through the windows. Music echoes faintly. I grip the steering wheel with both hands. Why did I come back? Not for this. Not to be pitied, or ignored, or laughed at behind paper-thin smiles. I scroll through my phone looking for a reason to stay. Some thread to hold on to, and I find it in the form of a photo I took years ago. It's me at 22 standing in front of a secure facility in Northern Virginia holding a clearance badge I had just earned. Behind the camera is my mother crying again, whispering, "Look what you've done, baby." That girl in that photo, she made it. And the only reason the people in that building ever looked past her silence was because her work spoke louder. The banquet starts at 7. At 6:45, I'm still in the car. At 6:50, I take a deep breath and step out. Not because I want revenge, but because I refuse to let these people write the ending. I walk back into the building, nodding politely as I pass the greeter. She offers me a paper program. I decline. Inside the gym has been transformed with navy and gold drapes, cheap centerpieces, and fairy lights. Madison stands near the stage holding a microphone like she's hosting a charity gala. She sees me and pauses for half a second, just long enough to remind me that she knows I don't belong. A seat has been reserved for me. It's still the plastic chair. Of course it is, but I sit anyway because I know what's coming. They don't. I sit in the same plastic chair. It creaks slightly as I shift. It's placed just to the side of the real tables, the ones with polished wood and cushions where everyone else sits, chatting, sipping, glowing in each other's familiar comfort. No one looks at me, except for the occasional glance. The kind you throw at someone you're trying to figure out who invited her. Is she someone's +1? Wasn't she that weird girl? I fold my hands on my lap, careful not to crush the fabric of my tailored black jumpsuit. I wore it with quiet dignity, not to be flashy, but to feel like myself. Strong, put together. No name tag this time. No reason to explain who I am. They've already decided who I was. I sip water slowly, counting seconds. Waiting. The MC, a former class president who now sells real estate, starts reading off canned speeches, honoring the most successful alumni, the most changed, and of course, the couple that's still together. The awards are laughable. Josh Danner wins Best Hair. Megan Holloway gets Best Glow Up, which she accepts with a fake blush and a too loud "oh my gosh." Everyone claps. Everyone laughs, except me. I start to wonder if this was a mistake, if I misjudged the whole thing, because here I am sitting in the corner, literally forgotten again, while the people who dismissed me for years bask in applause from a crowd that never knew what I left to become. And what hurts most isn't the ignorance. It's that for one split second, I believed they might see me now. I stare at the centerpiece in front of me, gold-painted pine cones arranged around a fake candle. It's meant to look elegant. It just looks tired. I feel it rising again, the old familiar tightness in my chest, the one that used to follow me home in high school, the one that told me not to speak too loudly, not to try too hard, not to take up space, the one that whispered, "You'll never matter to them." Not really. I swallow. I excuse myself and walk into the hallway, the gym doors swinging shut behind me. I find the women's restroom empty, sterile, too bright, and stand in front of the mirror. My reflection stares back older, sharper, clearer. But the ache in my throat, still 17 years old. I brace my hands on the sink. I whisper to my reflection, "Why did you think this time would be different?" And that's when it happens. The moment I feel the weight of it all crashing down, not because of what they did, but because of what I let myself hope. I hoped I could return and be recognized for what I've become. But they weren't ever going to see that. They were never meant to. I sit in that restroom for 15 minutes trying to pull myself together. My phone buzzes with a message, Agent Keller. "We're parked out front. You'll be called shortly." I stare at the text, and something hardens. I remember the briefing from 2 days ago in D.C., the vice president reviewing my encryption schema, the quiet nod he gave me across the classified table, the moment he said, "Come to the event. You'll be honored." Quietly but unmistakably. I remember what it felt like to speak and to be heard, to write code that changed the direction of a threat, to be trusted with what matters. That's who I am now. And yet I've let a room full of people who haven't done a single thing to earn my vulnerability reduce me back to a girl in a plastic chair. I walk out of the restroom and back into the gym. My steps are slower this time, deliberate. The room is now buzzing. Everyone's getting ready for the surprise speaker. Madison taps the microphone. "Okay, everyone," she chirps. This next part is very special. I'm told someone very important is on their way, so hang tight. She flashes that same pageant smile, still holding court, still believing she's the star of the show, and none of them know what's coming. I walk past her without a word, return to my seat. I sit tall now, the plastic chair creaking under my resolve, but I let it. Let them think I'm small. Let them wonder. Because in exactly 4 minutes, this entire night will change. And not because I asked for it, but because someone with real power earned power decided that I could no longer be invisible. I close my eyes for a moment and think of my mom, of how she used to say, "You can do great things in silence, but that doesn't mean you have to be silent forever." When I open them again, the gym doors part, and 2 men in dark suits step inside. They don't burst in. They glide, composed, measured, trained. The gym quiets almost instantly as the 2 Secret Service agents make their way down the aisle, not rushing, not even speaking. Their black suits glint slightly under the twinkling gymnasium lights, which suddenly feel like a spotlight and interrogation lamp all at once. People crane their necks. Phones are subtly lifted. Whispers race like static across the room. Wait, are they Secret Service? Is someone famous here? Oh my God, is it the Governor? Madison freezes mid-step. She clutches the mic against her chest like a lifebuoy scanning the room for anyone to tell her what's going on. And then the taller agent, Agent Keller, turns his head, scans the crowd, and locks eyes with me. He steps forward, pauses a foot from my table, and says clearly, calmly, "Ms. Elena Brooks, you're needed backstage. The vice president is ready." And just like that, the whole room inhales. Every eye turns. Every breath holds. I stand slowly. I don't say anything. I don't have to. Keller gestures for me to follow. The other agent takes position behind me. I walk forward, steady, dignified, measured past every stunned face that spent the last 2 days pretending I didn't exist. Madison takes half a step forward like she wants to say something, but no words come. Her mouth opens, closes, opens again. She stays silent, just like they expected me to do all my life. The agents escort me through the back hallway to the green room, a hastily repurposed supply closet with bottled water and a standing fan. And there he is, Vice President Leo Andrews. He's taller in person, warmer too. No cameras, no press. Just a quiet man who once read my briefing on an encrypted protocol and said, "This could change everything." He smiles when he sees me. "You made it." I nod, trying to hide the emotion threatening to rise in my throat. "Are you ready?" he asks gently. "More than I realized," I say. He motions to a small index card on the table, but I shake my head. I'd rather speak from memory. He nods. "That's what I hoped you'd say." 3 minutes later, I'm standing at the edge of the stage. Behind the curtain, I hear the confused murmurs still fluttering through the crowd. Madison is stalling. She announces that something special is happening and we've got a real treat tonight, but it's clear she's not in control anymore. And for the first time in my life, I don't feel small in this place. I feel rooted, like the girl who once sat under the cafeteria stairs has finally stood up. When the curtain opens, I walk out first. Then the VP follows. A burst of gasps echoes across the gym. I step to the microphone as the vice president takes a seat behind me, not in front, not at the center, but behind me. Because tonight, I'm the one speaking. I wasn't on the list. I begin, my voice calm and resonant through the sound system. In fact, I wasn't really expected. And that's okay. Some nervous laughter stirs. I let it settle. My name is Elena Brooks. I graduated here in 2010. Back then, I didn't stand out. I didn't make the yearbook. I wasn't in the slideshow. I wasn't invited to many parties. A few people shift uncomfortably. Good. I used to think that meant I didn't matter, that if I wasn't remembered, I'd never make a difference. Pause. And then I realized, you don't have to be remembered by everyone to do something that matters. I look directly at Madison. Some of the most important work in the world happens in silence, in shadows, without applause. The VP smiles behind me. I've spent the last 10 years working on national defense and cybersecurity, developing systems that protected millions of people, including all of you, without ever needing recognition. Another pause. I soften my voice. I don't say that to impress you. I say it because it took me years to realize that worth isn't measured in attention, or likes, or chairs at the right table. I glance at the far side of the room at the still empty plastic seat in the corner. I sat in a plastic chair tonight, not because there weren't better ones, but because someone decided I didn't belong. Gasps now, eyes flicking around. No one speaks. And that's okay, I continue. Because the chair doesn't define me. The whispers don't define me. You don't define me. I let that land. Tonight, I was invited here by someone who saw what I was capable of. Not because I was loud, but because I was consistent. Because I was focused, because I never stopped building. I step back from the mic, and the vice president stands, places a hand on my shoulder, then turns to the room and says, "This woman is one of the finest minds in national security. She trained your best, and most of you had no idea." He pauses. Then he says, "You should sit in the front next time, Elena." In fact, he looks toward the plastic chair. "Burn that thing." Laughter breaks out. But it's not cruel. It's astonished. A little embarrassed. Maybe even admiring. For the first time all weekend, I don't feel invisible. I feel seen. After the applause, the lights don't feel as harsh. People stand, some slowly, some clumsily, unsure whether they should clap cheer or just process what they've seen. The faces that once turned away from me now stare as if they're trying to recognize someone entirely new. But I haven't changed. I've just stopped hiding. The vice president nods to me, then quietly exits the stage with his detail. He doesn't need to linger. His part is done. Mine isn't. As I walk back into the crowd, the air feels denser, like the room is full of things unsaid, all waiting to fall. For a moment, I consider slipping out quietly before the conversations begin. But I don't, because for the first time, I don't feel the need to disappear. Madison corners me first. Of course she does. She comes over in her fitted red dress, high heels, tapping quickly. Smile fixed and fake. "Elena, wow. I mean, wow. That was something else." Her voice is bright, sugary. I almost don't recognize it without the condescension, though it's still laced in every syllable. I had no idea you were involved in whatever that was. You always were so mysterious in school, right? I raise an eyebrow. You once told me I was like a chair. Easy to ignore. She laughs a little too hard, clearly trying to play it off. High school, right? We were all jerks back then. God, the stuff we said. No, you were a jerk, I say simply. The laugh dies in her throat. I don't raise my voice. I don't threaten or insult. I just let her sit in the silence of her own past. She fumbles. Listen, if I had known you were doing all this important government work, I would've, what I ask, gently. Given me a folding chair instead of a plastic one. Her face flushes. She tries again. Look, if you ever want to collaborate on anything I do, corporate events now. Very upscale. You'd be surprised who comes to these things. This time I laugh, not cruelly, just honestly. I'm not looking for a platform, I say. I already built my own. After Madison drifts away, others approach. Megan, Josh, even Mr. Langford, the teacher who forgot my name. They offer handshakes, thin smiles, awkward compliments. They don't know what to say, so most say nothing meaningful at all. Josh stumbles through an apology. Something about not realizing who I was back then. You mean because I wasn't loud, I say, or because I didn't need your approval? He shrugs. Both, probably. At least he's honest. Either way, he says you proved us all wrong. I meet his eyes. I didn't come back to prove anything. I came back because I had nothing left to fear. That's the truth of it, really. This whole reunion, this place, these people, they used to haunt me. For years, I carried their voices like weights, the judgment, the mockery, the silence. But standing on that stage, I saw them for what they were. Small, human, just people. People who never had power over me, only the illusion of it. And I realized that fear had never come from them. It had come from me, from the younger version of me who hadn't yet learned how powerful she could become. And now she's not afraid anymore. The banquet winds down. People head toward the exits, hugging, laughing, clinking glasses. The plastic chair is gone. Someone, probably an intern, took it away during the speech. In its place is an empty seat with a real cushion. I don't sit in it. Instead, I walk to the edge of the gym and lean against the wall, watching them file out. I'm not angry. I'm not vengeful. I'm still. And in that stillness, I find something surprising. Peace. Before I leave, I take one last walk around the gym. I pause by the slideshow screen, which now rests dark and blank. Someone forgot to shut down the projector. Its faint glow casts a ghostly square on the wall. I pull out my phone and open a photo from years ago, a grainy selfie of me in that old high school hoodie sitting cross-legged in the library with my laptop open and wires sticking out in every direction. I never smiled much back then, but in this picture, I am. A small one, quiet, tired, but unmistakably proud. I snap a new picture just of the wall, a blank screen, a new page, and I smile again. I don't need a parade. I don't need their admiration. What I needed and finally found was the strength to face what once broke me. To walk back into the place where I was dismissed and choose to stand tall without waiting for applause. To speak when it mattered. And then walk away, not in rage, but in wholeness. The next morning, I leave town early. There's fog over the interstate, and for a while I drive in silence. No music, no GPS voice, just the hum of the road and the steady rhythm of my thoughts catching up to me. My phone buzzes with texts I haven't opened. Madison, great speech. Let's catch up sometime, Josh. You really showed us. Respect. Mr. Langford, Elena. I'm sorry for forgetting. You've done amazing things. Would love to invite you to speak at the school sometime. I don't reply. Not out of bitterness, just clarity. Because I didn't speak last night for them. I didn't return to be praised. I came back to reclaim the version of myself they tried to erase. And I did. I stopped for gas at a tiny station just outside town. The kind with a flickering neon open sign and a single row of dusty chip bags. Inside, I buy a bottle of water and glance out the window at the landscape I used to call home. It's smaller now, the roads narrower, the trees shorter. Or maybe I've just grown too large to fit here anymore, not in ego, but in purpose. This place shaped me, but it didn't define me. Back in DC, things are already in motion. There's a new assignment waiting for me, a high-security briefing room, new protocols to draft a team of bright minds I've quietly mentored over the past year. And they don't care about plastic chairs or popularity contests. They care about vision, integrity, discipline. They care about the things that actually build the future. Later that week, I give a closed-door presentation at the Pentagon. I walk into the room with nothing but a tablet, my notes, and the full force of what I've built from scratch. The generals listen, the officials ask good questions, and when it's done, one of them, a woman in uniform with steel in her eyes and warmth in her voice, says, "We need you on the next directive. Lead it." I nod steady. I say yes. But inside the 17-year-old version of me, she's doing cartwheels. A few days later, I finally call my mom. She's at home in North Carolina, still working part-time at the hospital, even though she says every year she's going to retire. I saw the speech, she says, barely containing her pride. "Someone sent it to you," I ask. "No," she says. "It's circulating in some classified circles. Don't ask how I got it." I laugh. "You hacked a government firewall, didn't you? I didn't raise a genius for nothing." There's a pause. Then she adds softly, "You looked free." I close my eyes. The truth of it lands deep. I felt free, I say, for the first time in a long time. Healing didn't come in a grand gesture. It came in quiet realizations. That no one's dismissal of you is permanent. That sometimes the apology you needed never comes. And that's okay. That power doesn't always shout. Sometimes it whispers. Codes, quiet decisions, unseen impact. That chair didn't define me. That room didn't define me. But my choice to walk into it anyway, that did. Weeks later, I get a letter. Handwritten. Slanted cursive I instantly recognize. It's from Madison. "I watched you speak and realized something I've tried to ignore, that I built a life around being seen. You built a life around building things. I don't know if we'll ever be friends, but I do know I was wrong. You weren't invisible. You were simply beyond what I could understand." I fold the letter gently, slide it into a drawer. I don't need anything from her, but part of me is glad she sent it. Not for validation, but because it means she's finally listening. One day, I'll tell the whole story. Maybe in a memoir, maybe to a room of high schoolers who feel small and unseen, maybe just to someone sitting in a back row with a broken pencil and a big dream. I'll tell them you are not invisible, you're just getting ready. And when they ask me how I found the strength to return to walk back into the place that hurt me most, I'll say, because I finally understood something. The chair doesn't matter, the table doesn't matter, the applause doesn't matter. What matters is this: you never needed their permission to become who you are. So if you're reading this or listening or watching and you feel like no one sees you right now, let me say what I wish someone had said to me. You are allowed to take up space. You don't have to shout. You don't have to perform. You just have to keep building, keep becoming, quietly, fiercely, truly, because one day they'll see. And when they do, you won't need the chair, because you'll already be standing.